You dealing with a toxic relationship, y'all whoop each other ass. I done seen her whoop his.
After many months of Diddy being dragged through the mud for assaulting Cassie, the new word on the street is that even Cassie put her hands on Diddy and is not necessarily innocent. Now that this new revelation, people are asking if the story Cassie told us is just a one-sided story alienating Diddy or a toxic mess on both ends. But we've got the full gist. Let's break it down. The alleged video. Back in May 2024, CNN dropped a 2016 surveillance video showing Diddy straight up wilding on Cassie in a hotel hallway. This footage, which hit the internet on May 17, 2024, shows some disturbing scenes at the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City, Los Angeles. The video catches Diddy, only rocking a towel, grabbing, pushing, dragging, and kicking Cassie while she's trying to bounce with a duffel bag. This video dropping had immediate consequences. Diddy hopped on the gram with a video statement that same day saying,
"My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy. I'm going to rehab."
This public "my bad" came after years of allegations and after Cassie filed that lawsuit in November 2023, which spilled all the tea about years of physical and sexual abuse. Mad suspicious that the lawsuit got settled just one day after filing, making everybody in the industry and beyond raise their eyebrows. Cassie finally broke her silence after the video dropped on May 23, 2024, with an Instagram post where she showed love to her supporters and talked about how domestic violence impacted her life. She was big grateful for those who created a safe space for my younger self to settle into and feel protected by the light instead of shadowed by darkness. In her statement, Cassie stressed that domestic violence was the issue, noting that it broke her down, but keeping it real with, "I'm better today, but I will always be recovering from my past." She was telling folks to believe victims the first time, highlighting how much courage it takes to speak up when you're powerless. Now about these claims that Cassie was putting hands on Diddy too, they mainly come from Chopper, a former bad boy artist whose government name is Kevin Barnes, also known as Young City. Homie was part of Diddy's group Day Band from that MTV show, Making the Band 2. In an interview from January 2025, Chopper claimed that the abuse between Diddy and Cassie went both ways, suggesting Cassie was throwing them hands at Diddy too. This claim is totally different from what Cassie's been saying publicly about Diddy's abuse, including that 2016 hotel incident caught on camera. Looking closer at this claim, Chopper's statements appeared in a YouTube video titled, "Chopper reveals he saw Diddy take Cassie from Ryan Leslie and says Diddy and Cassie abuse went both ways," which dropped on January 11, 2025. The title makes it sound like Chopper was saying the abuse was mutual, suggesting Cassie was getting physical with Diddy too. In another YouTube video titled, "Bad Boy Artist Chopper Says Cassie B3 Add Up Diddy 2 Worked with Liquor Company to Take Diddy Down," Chopper put more sauce on these claims. In this video, Chopper describes their relationship as deeply problematic, saying,
"I thought it was toxic."
Very toxic relationship.
Yes, it was, no matter how it sounds. But what you say and do can be used against you in a court of celebrity.
When asked directly if he ever witnessed altercations between them, Chopper confirms.
Did you ever see them ever get into any altercations ever?
Yes, a lot.
Damn. So
And I can say that she triggered him a lot.
But the most shocking part of Chopper's interview comes when he discusses having witnessed mutual physical confrontations.
You dealing with a toxic relationship, y'all whoop each other ass. I done seen her whoop his ass, kind of just like that. So I don't know how to pinpoint that. It's like I'm in the middle of just watching two people whoop each other ass, and the only thing that mattered was the one that what he done.
But check it. Chopper's claims ain't got no independent receipts, and they're mad different from the documented evidence of Diddy's actions toward Cassie. That 2016 surveillance video provides actual proof of Diddy's physical abuse, while no such evidence has popped up supporting claims that Cassie was hands-on with Diddy. The difference in evidence is major when you're trying to figure out who's keeping it 100. Cassie's allegations have video proof and legal documents backing them, while Chopper's claims are basically just his word without anybody else or any physical evidence to back it up. All this controversy is happening while Diddy's dealing with hella legal troubles. He's facing over 63 civil lawsuits claiming all kinds of foul behavior, including sexual assaults, trafficking, drugging people, and physical abuse. These lawsuits involve more than 100 individuals with claims going all the way back to 1991. Plus, Diddy got indicted in September 2024 on federal charges, including racketeering conspiracy, trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The feds say he was running a criminal enterprise with all kinds of coercion and abuse. He's pleaded not guilty and is locked up in Brooklyn, with his trial going down as of May 2025. These allegations and all the legal battles are mad serious. They're not just about Diddy and the people directly involved, they're making everybody in the entertainment industry have conversations about power dynamics, accountability, and getting justice. As of May 14th, 2025, Sean Diddy Combs' trial is still going with key testimonies from witnesses including Cassie Ventura, who's been giving detailed accounts of what went down during their relationship. The trial and Cassie's testimony. Diddy's charges ain't no joke. Diddy's looking at potential life in the pen if convicted. His legal squad is going hard on defense, denying everything and arguing that Diddy's swinger lifestyle doesn't mean he was committing crimes. They've also filed motions trying to get parts of the indictment thrown out, claiming racial targeting. As of May 14th, 2025, we're still in the early stages of the trial, with Cassie Ventura's testimony being the main event. Reporters in the courtroom say her testimony has been emotional, detailed, and delivered with surprising composure, considering how heavy the content is. Prosecutors have been painting a picture of Diddy that's shocking the courtroom with graphic details about the alleged freak-offs and the level of degradation involved. Cassie, visibly pregnant during her testimony, was rubbing her belly throughout as she spilled all the tea about her experiences. Her husband, Alex Fine, was in the courtroom holding her down, though the defense has said they might call him as a witness to impeach him, which could limit him being there for future testimony. Cassie's testimony started with how their relationship began, when she got signed to Bad Boy Records in 2006 at just 19 years old. She broke down how what started as a professional relationship turned romantic, and how Diddy gradually started controlling every aspect of her life. One of the most wild parts of her testimony was describing how Diddy allegedly ran her whole existence. She testified that control was everything, from her career to her appearance, including clothes, hair, and nails, and her daily moves. This control was possible because of his major influence over her career opportunities, making her feel trapped and unable to say no to his demands. Cassie testified that Diddy controlled where she lived, making sure she was always within walking distance or a quick drive from him. He paid her rent at almost every crib she lived in. If she wasn't answering his calls or texts, he'd send his security team to track her down. A big chunk of Cassie's testimony detailed what she called freak-offs, sexual encounters Diddy orchestrated involving multiple participants, including male escorts. These events allegedly went down nearly weekly for years, lasting from 36 hours to 4 days, sometimes without sleep. She described being forced into participating, feeling she couldn't say no because of Diddy's control over her career and his threats to leak video recordings of the events. Cassie detailed how Diddy directed these events, controlling everything from the lighting to the sexual acts performed. She described feeling disgusting, humiliated, and worthless during these encounters, using drugs to check out mentally. The prosecution showed text messages where before a freak-off, she is texting Combs, asking, "Which colored pill do I take from your Louis Vuitton med bag?" And he directed her which one to take. Cassie testified that Diddy recorded the freak-offs early on, first on video cameras and later on devices, and used these recordings to blackmail her when he was in his feelings. She tried to delete her copies because they were humiliating and asked Diddy to delete his, but the threat of them leaking was always hanging over her head. Her testimony also included mad details about physical abuse. She described incidents where Diddy would knock her down, drag her, kick her, and stomp on her head if she was on the ground, leaving her with black eyes and bruises. She said the beatings were too many to count, and she often froze up out of fear, not fighting back when he was putting hands on her. One specific incident she highlighted in her testimony was the 2016 altercation at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles, which was caught on the surveillance footage CNN released. Cassie testified that she was in a freak-off with Diddy and an escort just a couple of days before her first big movie premiere, and Diddy gave her a black eye. She tried to bounce while Diddy was in the shower, which led to the assault caught on video. The prosecution has shown this video multiple times during the trial, using it as evidence of the physical violence that they claim was used to coerce Cassie. When asked if there were times when she tried to fight back when Diddy would hit her, Cassie simply replied, "No." Backing up Cassie's testimony, other witnesses have also taken the stand, including Israel Flores, an LAPD officer who worked security at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016. He testified about responding to the 2016 incident, describing Diddy's devilish stare and saying the cash left at the scene looked like a bribe attempt. Another key witness has been Daniel Phillip, a 41-year-old former male escort and manager of a male review show in Manhattan. His testimony, given on May 12th and 13, 2025, provided firsthand details of the freak-offs as he described. He stated that between 2012 and 2014, he was paid by Cassie to have with her while Diddy watched and sometimes directed, with payments ranging from $700 to $6,000. Phillips' testimony also included accounts of witnessing Diddy physically abusing Cassie, such as throwing a glass bottle, hitting her, and dragging her by her hair, which supports the prosecution's claims of coercion and violence. He mentioned hearing slapping sounds and Cassie screaming, I'm sorry," during one incident, showing she was in serious distress. During cross-examination, defense attorney Xavier Donaldson tried to discredit Phillips' testimony. The defense focused on his background as a manager of male strippers and the circumstances of his first meeting with Cassie, suggesting everything was consensual. Despite these efforts, Phillips stuck to his story, maintaining that the encounters involve coercion and abuse. The defense hasn't presented their full case yet, since the trial is still in the early stages, but they've already started challenging the prosecution's narrative through cross-examination of witnesses.
Now, Diddy's team came real quick on their opening statements and said, look, and I thought their opening statements, to be honest with y'all, were weak, Diddy's team. Like, I thought, like, okay, all they did was own up to everything. They like, look, he was angry. He can't control his anger. He, might have abused drugs and been a horrible boyfriend.
Diddy's lawyers are arguing that the relationships were consensual, part of a swinger lifestyle, and not criminal. They're especially trying to separate what they call domestic violence, which they don't deny happened, from the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering.
Y'all gonna hear text messages and audios that make him sound like a horrible person, and that he may have been. All of the most horrible things you could think about him when it comes to how he dealt with the women in his life, he's owning up to it. But when it comes to these charges, one thing has nothing to do with the other.
An interesting part of this case is how it connects to the long-term relationship between Cassie and Diddy. Their romance reportedly started around 2007 after Cassie got signed to Bad Boy Records and lasted until 2018. During this time, Cassie's music career seemed to take a back seat to their relationship. In a 2017 interview with Hot 97, when asked about how her music had been affected by being known mainly as Diddy's girlfriend, Cassie acknowledged, "It was difficult to navigate it for a little while, just because people automatically at this point now just don't associate me with music anymore all the time." Since bouncing from her relationship with Diddy, Cassie found happiness with personal trainer Alex Fine. The couple met in 2018, announced they had a bun in the oven in June 2019, and tied the knot in September 2019. They now have 2 daughters, Frankie, born December 2019, and Sunny, born March 2021. After that 2016 assault video dropped in May 2024, Alex wrote an open letter speaking up for victims of domestic violence, stating, "I want my kids and every kid to live in a world that's safe for women and girls, protects them, and treats them as equals. Men who hit women aren't men. Men who enable it and protect these people aren't men." As Cassie keeps dropping bombs in her testimony, we're expecting to hear more details about the nature of their relationship and the alleged abuse. The prosecution plans to call more witnesses, potentially including other accusers, referred to as Victim 2 and Victim 4 in court documents, and supporting witnesses like friends of Cassie who might back up her allegations. One interesting twist in the trial is the absence of a witness referred to as Victim 3, a key accuser who had promised to testify but is currently MIA. This absence might give the defense grounds to ask for a mistrial or delay, which could affect how the trial plays out. The broader context and implications. Sean Diddy Combs is facing a legal nightmare right now. Beyond the criminal charges in the current trial, he's dealing with over 63 civil lawsuits from more than 100 accusers, with allegations ranging from sexual assault to sex trafficking, drugging people, and physical abuse. These claims go back decades, all the way to 1991, painting a disturbing picture of alleged systematic foul behavior. The flood of lawsuits was partly made possible by New York's Gender-Motivated Violence Act, which allowed for previously time-barred claims to be filed. This resulted in 10 new lawsuits on February 28, 2025, adding to the mountain of legal pressure on the music mogul. Among these civil cases, Cassie Ventura's lawsuit stands out as particularly significant. Filed on November 16, 2023, under New York's Adult Survivors Act, her lawsuit alleged physical abuse and being forced into encounters termed freak-offs during their relationship from 2007 to 2018. The lawsuit was settled for an undisclosed amount the very next day, raising mad questions about the terms and why it was resolved so quickly. Other notable cases include a lawsuit filed by music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones Jr. in February 2024, accusing Diddy of sexual harassment, assault, and operating a RICO enterprise involving illegal activities. While some claims in this lawsuit, like RICO and emotional distress, were dismissed, assault allegations are still being fought in court. In December 2023, a woman filed a lawsuit alleging that she was gang and trafficked by Diddy and his associate Harve Pierre in 2003 when she was just 17. The lawsuit claimed she was given drugs and alcohol and assaulted at a recording studio. Additional lawsuits include one from Dawn Richard, a former member of Danity Kane, who sued Diddy in September 2024, alleging groping, assault, and threats. There's also a lawsuit filed by Grace O'Marte in April 2024, accusing Diddy's son, Christian Combs, of drugging and sexually assaulting her on a yacht in December 2022, with Diddy named as a defendant for allegedly enabling the environment. The federal criminal charges against Diddy stem from an indictment filed in September 2024 after he got locked up in New York City. The charges include racketeering conspiracy, alleging that Diddy ran a criminal enterprise since at least 2008 involving coercion, abuse, and silencing victims through blackmail and violence, 2 counts of sex trafficking, accusing Diddy of forcing individuals into sexual activities, including freak-offs, through coercion and drugs, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution related to facilitating illegal sexual activities across state lines. The indictment alleges all kinds of criminal activities, including forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Diddy pleaded not guilty to all charges and is facing potential life for the racketeering charge, with a minimum of 15 years for sex trafficking and up to 10 years for the prostitution-related charges. The federal investigation that led to these charges heated up with raids on Diddy's Los Angeles and Miami cribs on March 25, 2024, conducted by Homeland Security. They found firearms and seized cell phones during these raids. Diddy's associate Brendan Paul got locked up for drug possession during the raids. Currently, Diddy is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a facility known for its rough conditions. His bail was denied twice, with prosecutors saying he's a serious flight risk. His legal team has been trying to get him released, pointing to the jail's horrific conditions, but these requests have been shut down. Adding to his problems, Diddy's been accused of violating prison rules by trying to contact potential witnesses, with prosecutors claiming he's been trying to corruptly influence witness testimony. The current trial, going down at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in Lower Manhattan, is expected to last about 8 weeks. Diddy turned down a plea deal, choosing to go to trial and maintain his innocence. His defense team, led by attorney Brian Steele, has been trying to discredit witness accounts by highlighting inconsistencies and arguing that everything was consensual. Beyond the specific allegations and legal proceedings, this case raises bigger questions about power dynamics in the entertainment industry, especially regarding how women and vulnerable individuals get treated. The allegations against Diddy are part of a larger pattern of reckonings within the industry, where high-profile figures have been increasingly called out for alleged misconduct. The use of legal mechanisms like New York's Adult Survivors Act and Gender-Motivated Violence Act has enabled accusers to bring forward claims that might otherwise have been time-barred, contributing to the volume of lawsuits. As the trial continues, additional witnesses are expected to testify, including other accusers and supporting witnesses. The prosecution's case is anticipated to last about 3 weeks, followed by the defense case, which might take around 1 week. The complexity of the charges, particularly the racketeering allegation, requires establishing a pattern of criminal activity, making the testimony of multiple witnesses crucial to the prosecution's strategy. The defense's approach so far has focused on questioning the credibility of witnesses and arguing that while some behavior might have been inappropriate, it wasn't criminal. They particularly emphasized distinguishing between what they characterize as domestic violence and the more serious charges of trafficking and racketeering. One significant challenge for the prosecution might be the absence of victim 3, a key witness who had pledged to testify but is currently MIA. This could potentially give the defense grounds to seek a mistrial or delay, impacting the progression and outcome of the trial. Beyond the immediate participants, this case has implications for how society addresses allegations of abuse, particularly in situations with major power imbalances. The entertainment industry has been dealing with these issues more openly in recent years, and the outcome of this high-profile case could influence how such matters are approached in the future. For victims of domestic violence and abuse, cases like this can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, seeing big names held accountable can validate their experiences and encourage them to seek help or justice. On the other hand, the intense scrutiny and sometimes hostile questioning that accusers face can reinforce fears about coming forward. Mental health professionals have noted that the graphic nature of the 2016 video and the detailed allegations in this case can be triggering for survivors of abuse, highlighting the need for sensitivity when reporting on such matters. One particularly disturbing element of Cassie's testimony involves the alleged use of recording devices during freak-offs and subsequent threats of blackmail. She testified that Diddy used these recordings as leverage when he was in his feelings, highlighting how technology can be weaponized in abusive relationships to maintain control through fear and intimidation. The presence of enablers and yes men is another issue raised by this case. Cassie's testimony suggests that Diddy's staff and security team helped maintain his control over her, raising questions about the responsibility of those who might witness or indirectly support abusive behavior. The prosecution's framing of Diddy's operation as a criminal enterprise emphasizes this aspect, suggesting that a network of individuals contributed to the alleged pattern of abuse and exploitation. Looking ahead, several factors could influence how this trial plays out. The credibility and consistency of witness testimony will be crucial, particularly given the defense's strategy of highlighting inconsistencies and suggesting consensual arrangements. The legal definitions of sex trafficking and racketeering will also be key, as the prosecution must establish not just that abuse occurred, but that it fits the specific elements of these federal crimes. Thank you for tuning in to this in-depth breakdown. If you enjoyed this video, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.
We're trying to still connect the dots. We do have some sources on scene here that we're getting this information from. We were actually the first ones here with about 30 different law enforcement.
We're looking at the live pictures of what's going on in Holmby Hills at this mansion right here, all connected to Sean Combs.
Diddy. Can't you see? Sean Diddy Combs has found himself at the center of a scandal, as 2 of his properties have been raided by Homeland Security agents. These raids, which took place in Los Angeles and Miami, are linked to numerous allegations of violence and sexual abuse that have been made against Diddy. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, in collaboration with local law enforcement partners, has executed these raids as part of an ongoing investigation. In this video, I will tell you what the FBI has released concerning the potential arrest of Diddy. The raid.
Number of resources on hand, with a drone flying up top, as well as they had ladders taking a closer look at certain parts of the property. And so they are looking at every nook and cranny they need to in terms of why they're investigating this home and properties.
Let's start from the beginning. Late last year, singer-songwriter Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit against Diddy, accusing him of violence and sexual abuse. The lawsuit sent shockwaves through the industry, as Cassie detailed disturbing incidents that allegedly occurred during their relationship. The allegations were serious and raised questions about the true nature of Diddy's character. Cassie's lawsuit, filed in November 2023, shed light on a side of Diddy that many had never seen before. She accused him of physical assault, emotional abuse, and even rape. The details of the lawsuit were graphic and disturbing, painting a picture of a man who had allegedly used his power and influence to manipulate and control those around him. The lawsuit sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, with many questioning the true nature of Diddy's character. It also opened the floodgates for others to come forward with their own allegations against the media mogul. The #MeToo movement had already brought attention to the prevalence of sexual misconduct in the industry, and now Diddy's name was being added to the list of accused. As the allegations against Diddy continued to mount, the Department of Homeland Security took notice. On Monday, federal agents executed raids on 2 properties connected to Diddy, one in Los Angeles and the other in Miami. The raids were part of an ongoing investigation into the allegations of violence and sexual abuse. The exact details of the case remain unclear, but sources indicate that the raids are linked to a sex trafficking investigation. This shocking revelation has left many wondering how deep the rabbit hole goes and what other shocking revelations may come to light. Diddy, known for his successful career in music and business, now finds himself at the center of a scandal that could have far-reaching consequences. The raids on his properties by Homeland Security agents have sent shockwaves through the industry and have left fans and followers of Diddy stunned.
R&B singer Cassie has accused hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs of rape and a decade of physical abuse. The 2 were romantically involved for years, but in a lawsuit made public today, Cassie says there was a pattern of control, drug use, and forced sexual encounters.
Cassie's lawsuit was filed under New York's Adult Survivors Act, which allowed victims a one-time, 1-year window to sue their alleged sexual abusers, even if the statute of limitations had expired. In her lawsuit, Cassie claimed that she first met Diddy in 2005 when she was just 19 years old and he was 37. What started as a seemingly glamorous relationship quickly turned into a nightmare of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking. According to the lawsuit, Diddy exerted control over nearly every aspect of Cassie's life. He manipulated her career, controlled her finances, and even had access to her personal medical record. But the most horrifying allegations revolved around the physical and sexual abuse Cassie endured at the hands of Diddy. The lawsuit detailed a pattern of violence, with Diddy allegedly physically abusing Cassie multiple times a year. These acts of violence left her traumatized and in fear for her life, but the abuse didn't stop there. Cassie claimed that that Diddy forced her to engage in sexual acts with male sex workers in different cities, while he watched, masturbated to, and recorded the encounters. Cassie's lawsuit also included a harrowing incident that took place in 2018. After a dinner, Diddy allegedly forced himself into Cassie's apartment, despite her repeated pleas for him to stop. She said no and tried to push him away, but he ignored her protests and raped her. This horrifying violation marked the breaking point for Cassie, leading her to finally end the relationship for good. In her lawsuit, Cassie referenced multiple witnesses who had seen the abuse take place. One of these witnesses was her friend, singer-songwriter Tiffany Red. In an open letter to Diddy, Red described an incident that occurred during Cassie's 29th birthday party in 2015. According to Red, Diddy and his security team forced Cassie to leave the party with the intention of having her engage in sexual encounters with other men. Red revealed that Cassie had confided in her about Diddy's physical abuse, confirming the validity of Cassie's claims. Diddy's lawyer, Benjamin Brafman, vehemently denied all the allegations, stating that the lawsuit was filled with baseless and outrageous lies. According to Brafman, the lawsuit was an attempt to tarnish Diddy's reputation and extort money from him. Despite the denial, Diddy and Cassie settled the lawsuit just one day after it was filed. The details of the settlement remained private, and Brafman emphasized that it should not be seen as an admission of wrongdoing. The allegations against Diddy continue to mount as more women come forward with their own harrowing stories. Liza Gardner, one of the women who filed a lawsuit against Diddy, alleges that she and a friend met Diddy and singer-songwriter Aaron Hall at an MCA Records event in 1990 or 1991. They were invited to an after-party at Hall's apartment, where Gardner claims she was coerced into having sex with Diddy. Shockingly, Gardner also alleges that Diddy assaulted her friend during the same encounter. The encounter left Gardner shocked and traumatized. As she got dressed, Aaron Hall allegedly barged into the room, pinned her down, and forced her to have sex with him. A few days later, Diddy allegedly came to the home Gardner shared with her friend, fearing that she would disclose the incident to the woman he was with at the time. This alleged attack further deepened the trauma Gardner experienced. Joy Dickerson Neal, another woman who has come forward with allegations against Diddy, claims that in 1991, she reluctantly went on a date with him. According to her lawsuit, Diddy intentionally drugged and sexually assaulted her after their dinner. Dickerson Neal alleges that Diddy recorded the assault and showed the tape to others, further violating her privacy and dignity. While Dickerson Neal did not immediately go to the authorities after the alleged assault, she eventually filed a police report with unspecified agencies in New York and New Jersey. However, she claims that prosecutors told her they would need to corroborate her allegations. Dickerson Neal believes that potential witnesses were terrified of Diddy's power and influence, fearing retaliation and the loss of future business and music opportunities if they were to come forward. Diddy's spokesperson has dismissed the claims made by Gardner and Dickerson Neal as fabricated, accusing them of exploiting the Adult Survivors Act. However, these women's allegations cannot be ignored. They add to the growing chorus of voices speaking out against Diddy, painting a disturbing picture of a man accused of using his power and influence to commit heinous acts. It is important to note that these allegations are still being investigated, and Diddy has denied all the accusations made against him. In a statement, he declared, "For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation, and my legacy. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth." The allegations against Diddy then took an even darker turn with the fourth lawsuit filed by an anonymous woman referred to as Jane Doe. Her allegations against Diddy and his longtime lieutenant Harve Pierre paint a chilling picture of abuse and exploitation. In this section, we will delve into the details of Jane Doe's lawsuit and the gravity of the accusations. According to Jane Doe's lawsuit, she alleges that in 2003, when she was just 17 years old, Diddy, Harve Pierre, and a third unidentified assailant gang raped her at Diddy's Manhattan recording studio. The lawsuit claims that the men trafficked Jane Doe across state lines from Detroit to New York City on a private jet, where they subjected her to a horrifying ordeal. Jane Doe further alleges that the men plied her with drugs and alcohol until she was unable to consent. Despite her protests and pleas for them to stop, they violently assaulted her. The lawsuit includes several photos that Jane Doe claims were taken at the studio on that night, including one where she is seen sitting on Diddy's lap, further supporting her claims. The allegations made by Jane Doe are deeply disturbing and raise serious questions about the abuse of power and the exploitation of vulnerable individuals. The lawsuit paints a horrifying picture of a young woman subjected to unspeakable acts at the hands of those who held positions of authority and influence. It is important to note that Harve Pierre, Diddy's longtime lieutenant, has also faced allegations of sexual assault. A former assistant has sued Pierre, accusing him of using his position of authority to groom, exploit, and sexually assault her multiple times between 2016 and 2017. These allegations further underscore the gravity of the accusations against Diddy and those within his inner circle. Gay allegation.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs facing yet another sex assault and harassment lawsuit. It was filed by music producer Rodney Jones Jr. He accuses Combs of making unwanted sexual contacts while they worked on an album.
Just last month, producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones filed a $30 million civil suit against Diddy, adding to the mounting accusations against him. Jones's lawsuit alleges that while living with Diddy and working on the 2023 album, The Love Album, he was subjected to a range of mistreatment. These allegations include Diddy fondling his genitals, sexually coercing him, and hosting parties where underage girls were present and drugged. Jones also claims that Diddy brandished guns, boasted about shooting people, and used his powerful connections in a threatening manner. The details of these allegations, as outlined in Jones's 70-page filing, are deeply disturbing. They paint a picture of a man who abused his power and engaged in criminal behavior behind closed doors. The allegations also suggest a pattern of criminal wrongdoing that was concealed by Diddy's influence and resources. Jones claims that during the time they were working on the 2023 album, The Love Album, Diddy subjected him to sexual misconduct, physical abuse, and involvement in illegal activities. One of the most shocking allegations made by Jones is that Diddy fondled his genitals and sexually coerced him in various ways. These claims are deeply disturbing and, if true, indicate a severe abuse of power. Jones also alleges that Diddy hosted parties where underage girls were present and drugged, which raises serious concerns about the safety and well-being of these young individuals. However, it is important to note that certain elements of the lawsuit have come under scrutiny. Adult film star D'Angelo Knockout Marquis has claimed that video stills presented in the lawsuit as producer Stevie J are actually from one of his own scenes. This raises questions about the authenticity of the evidence presented and the credibility of Jones's claims. Another controversy surrounding the allegations is the claim that Diddy forced Jones to cover up a shooting that occurred inside a bathroom at LA's Chalice Studios. TMZ reported that 2 people were charged for the shooting, and it actually took place outside the studio. This inconsistency raises doubts about the accuracy of Jones's account and casts doubt on the overall credibility of his allegations. Furthermore, documents submitted as part of the lawsuit contain pictures of Diddy purportedly with underage girls at a party. However, 2 women have come forward to claim that they are the individuals in the pictures and assert that they were adults at the time the photos were taken. This discrepancy raises questions about the accuracy of the evidence presented and the potential for manipulation or misrepresentation. Diddy's attorney, Sean Hawley, has strongly denied the allegations, calling Jones a liar seeking an undeserved payday. Hawley asserts that there is overwhelming evidence to prove that Jones's claims are complete lies. It is now up to the courts to determine the validity of these allegations and the credibility of the evidence presented. While inconsistencies and controversies have emerged surrounding the allegations against Diddy, it is crucial to remember that these do not dismiss or diminish the seriousness of the claims made. The allegations of sexual misconduct, physical abuse, and involvement in illegal activities are deeply troubling and warrant thorough investigation. The response to the allegations against Sean Diddy Combs has exposed a troubling undercurrent of homophobia within society. While the allegations of sexual misconduct, physical abuse, and involvement in illegal activities should be the focus of the conversation, some individuals have instead fixated on irrelevant details and engaged in homophobic reactions. This response not only detracts from the gravity of the crimes at hand, but also perpetuates harmful stereotypes and attitudes. One of the most concerning aspects of the response to the allegations is the trivialization of the serious accusations made by focusing on irrelevant details. In the lawsuit, producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones claimed that Diddy told him he had sex with musicians Meek Mill and Usher, with clues in the document's footnotes essentially revealing their identity. However, instead of addressing the serious allegations of sexual misconduct and abuse, some individuals have latched onto these secondhand claims about Meek Mill, turning them into the headline takeaway. Furthermore, the response to these allegations has exposed the persistence of homophobia in society. When Meek Mill responded to the claims, denying any involvement in gay activity, he faced a barrage of homophobic reactions. This highlights the discomfort and prejudice that still exists toward the LGBTQ+ community, even in the face of serious allegations of abuse. The focus on Meek Mill's sexuality instead of the crimes being alleged against Diddy is a stark reminder of the misplaced priorities and harmful biases that continue to pervade our society. The implications of this homophobia are far-reaching. It not only distracts from the core issues of sexual assault and abuse, but also perpetuates a culture of silence and fear. The fear of being labeled as gay or engaging in gay activity can prevent victims from coming forward and seeking justice. This stigma creates an environment where abuse can continue to go unreported and unaddressed, enabling perpetrators to operate with impunity. It is crucial to shift the focus back to the crimes at hand and to prioritize the experiences and well-being of the victim. The allegations against Diddy are deeply disturbing and warrant thorough investigation and accountability. By centering the conversation on the crimes being alleged, we can create a space space where survivors feel safe to come forward, and where the focus is on justice rather than irrelevant details or homophobic reactions. Diddy's history of violence.
How do you feel about these lawsuits accusing Diddy of abuse? What do you think about that? You knowing Diddy, do you think he's capable of doing that?
I think he's very capable of doing it. It's in his character. That's who he is. That's what comes with power. That's what comes with arrogance. That's what comes with, what makes him, power.
In the early days of his music career, Sean Diddy Combs started as a radio intern, eager to make his mark in the industry. Little did he know that his journey would be riddled with controversy and a history of violence that would follow him throughout his rise to fame. One of the most tragic incidents associated with Diddy's early career occurred during a celebrity basketball game that he co-hosted. The event took place at the City College of New York gym and was meant to be a fun-filled day of entertainment. However, it quickly turned into a nightmare when a stampede and crowd surge ensued, resulting in the death of 9 people.
A few times I thought I was gonna pass out because it was hot on that staircase. You know what I'm saying? And when they closed the doors, I knew something was going down.
City College was a deep experience for me. I was there, I was on the floor, I watched people take their last breath, regurgitate. And
the tragedy sent shockwaves through the music industry and the community at large. Mayor David Dinkins criticized Diddy for allowing inexperienced individuals to plan the event and oversell tickets, leading to the chaotic and ultimately fatal outcome. While it may not have been entirely Diddy's fault, this early event hinted at a potential complicity in death and violence, raising questions about his priorities and the potential disregard for human welfare in pursuit of success. Despite the criticism and tragedy surrounding the celebrity basketball game, Diddy's career continued to flourish. After a stint at Uptown Records, he launched his own record label, Bad Boy Records, in 1993. It was here that he would make his mark as a music mogul, shaping the landscape of hip-hop for years to come. One of Diddy's first major successes under Bad Boy Records was the release of Notorious Big's groundbreaking album, Ready to Die. The album catapulted both Biggie and Diddy into the spotlight, solidifying their positions as influential figures in the hip-hop industry. Diddy's talent for spotting and nurturing talent didn't stop there. He went on to cultivate the careers of artists like Foxy Brown, Faith Evans, and Mary J. Blige, further cementing his reputation as a powerhouse in the music world. However, it was Diddy's involvement in the infamous West Coast versus East Coast rivalry that truly thrust him into the spotlight. The rivalry, fueled by tensions between Death Row Records' Suge Knight and rapper Tupac Shakur on the West Coast and Diddy and Biggie on the East Coast, captivated the world's fascination and intrigue with 90s hip-hop and gangster rap. Tragically, the rivalry would have devastating consequences. Both Biggie and Tupac were shot and killed in separate incidents, leaving the music industry and their fans in shock. While Diddy was never implicated in either death, speculation, rumors, and conspiracy theories continue to swirl around the circumstances surrounding these tragic events. The West Coast versus East Coast rivalry and its violent aftermath served as a stark reminder of the dark underbelly of the music industry. It highlighted the dangers and consequences of the feuds and conflicts that can arise within the hip-hop community. While Diddy may not have been directly involved in the deaths of Biggie and Tupac, the association with such violence raises questions about the culture surrounding him and the potential influence he had on the events that unfolded. As Diddy's career continued to soar, he found himself embroiled in yet another firestorm, this time facing an assault charge. It all stemmed from a controversial music video for the song Hate Me Now, featuring Nas. In the video, Diddy and Nas were depicted being crucified on a cross, a scene that Diddy deemed sacrilegious and wanted to be cut. However, the unedited version of the video was aired, leading Diddy to take matters into his own hands. He confronted the president of Interscope Records, assaulting him with a chair, a telephone, and a champagne bottle. The incident resulted in Diddy pleading guilty to a lesser charge and being ordered to attend anger management. This violent outburst further added to the growing narrative surrounding Diddy's history of violence and raised concerns about his ability to control his anger. But the incidents of violence didn't stop there. In a shocking turn of events, Diddy and his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez found themselves at the center of a New York nightclub shooting. After a heated altercation, 3 people were injured, and both Diddy and Lopez were arrested and charged with battery and gun possession. While Lopez's charges were eventually dropped, Diddy went to trial, claiming that he was a victim of the criminal justice system's vendetta against criminalizing black men. He was ultimately acquitted of his involvement in the shooting, but the incident further tarnished his reputation and raised questions about his association with violence. As we delve deeper into Diddy's history of violence, we come across more shocking incidents that have left a lasting impact on those involved. One such incident involves Diddy's alleged involvement in blowing up a man's car after learning about his romantic interest in cassette Cassandra Ventura, also known as Cassie. In a deeply disturbing turn of events, Cassie revealed in the lawsuit that Diddy blew up a man's car as a response to his romantic interest in her. The New York Times, through a spokesperson, confirmed that rapper Kid Cudi, who was Cassie's then boyfriend, had his car explode in his driveway. Kid Cudi himself confirmed the account, stating, "This is all true." The revelation of such extreme and violent behavior raises serious questions about Diddy's actions and the lengths he was willing to go to control and intimidate those around him. This disturbing incident is not the only altercation that Diddy has been involved in. In 2012, rumors circulated that Diddy and Kid Cudi had a physical altercation in a club. While the details of the incident remain somewhat unclear, it adds to the pattern of violence that seems to follow Diddy throughout his career. These incidents paint a troubling picture of Diddy's behavior and raise concerns about his ability to handle conflicts in a non-violent manner. The alleged blowing up of a man's car and the altercation with Kid Cudi demonstrate a willingness to resort to extreme measures when faced with situations that challenge his control or involve individuals close to him. It is important to note that these incidents are not isolated occurrences, but rather part of a larger pattern of violence and aggression that has surrounded Diddy throughout his career. While he has been able to shape his public image and maintain a certain level of success, these incidents serve as a reminder that there may be a darker side to the hip-hop mogul that has often been overlooked. In the tumultuous world of Diddy's history of violence, another shocking incident comes to light: his involvement in a nightclub shooting alongside his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez. This incident would have far-reaching consequences and further tarnish Diddy's reputation. The night started like any other for Diddy and Jennifer Lopez as they enjoyed the vibrant nightlife of New York City. However, a heated altercation quickly escalated, leading to a violent confrontation that would leave 3 people injured. The couple found themselves at the center of a criminal investigation, facing charges of battery and gun possession. While Jennifer Lopez's charges were eventually dropped, Diddy faced a trial that would test his claims of innocence. He vehemently argued that he was a victim of the criminal justice system's vendetta against criminalizing black men. The trial became a media spectacle, shining a spotlight on the complexities of race, fame, and the criminal justice system. Ultimately, Diddy was acquitted of his involvement in the shooting. However, the aftermath of the incident left a lasting impact on his career and public perception. Many questioned the circumstances surrounding the shooting and the role Diddy played in the events that unfolded. One of the most significant consequences of the nightclub shooting was the impact it had on the life of Diddy's protege, Shyne. Shyne, a rapper signed to Diddy's Bad Boy Records, was also present during the altercation and faced charges of his own. He would go on to serve 9 years in prison for assault and gun possession, claiming that Diddy had sold him out. The fallout from the nightclub shooting served as a stark reminder of the dangers and consequences that can arise from a culture of violence and aggression. It raised questions about the influence and responsibility that individuals in positions of power, like Diddy, hold over those around them. The incident also highlighted the disparities within the criminal justice system, with Diddy's acquittal contrasting starkly with Shyne's lengthy prison sentence. The documented history of violence surrounding Diddy cannot be ignored. From the tragic stampede at the celebrity basketball game to his involvement in the West Coast versus East Coast rivalry, the assault charge stemming from the Hate Me Now music video, the blowing up of a man's car, and now the nightclub shooting with Jennifer Lopez. These incidents paint a troubling picture of a man who has been able to navigate the music industry while leaving a trail of violence and controversy in his wake. The aftermath of the nightclub shooting would forever impact Diddy's public persona. While he continued to find success in the music industry, his reputation became increasingly tarnished. The incident served as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of a life steeped in violence and aggression. That brings us to the end of this video. For more interesting videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.